Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That is the exact moment the world finds out whether this war just got 10 times worse. President Donald Trump has warned of the complete demolition of Iran's power plants and bridges. Al Jazeera. Not next week, not next month, in a matter of hours. One deadline, one decision, and the entire global economy hanging on what happens next. Iran has warned of a more severe and expansive response if Trump follows through on his expletive-laden threat to strike energy infrastructure and bridges. NBC News. Two sides, both refusing to blink, both making promises they may have to keep. Drop a comment right now. Where are you watching from? Because what happens in the next few hours affects every single country on Earth. Let's get straight into what is happening right now. Trump said on Monday that the Tuesday deadline he has set for Iran to make a deal was final. He said Iran had made a proposal and it was a significant step, but not good enough. Al Jazeera Iran has effectively shut down the Strait of Hormuz, a trade route through which 20% of the world's oil passes, by striking ships in response to US-Israeli attacks. NBC News. Iran has conveyed a 10-point response to U.S. proposals for ending the war to Pakistan, rejecting a temporary ceasefire, and demanding a permanent end to hostilities. RFE-RL. So here is where we stand. America wants the strait open. Iran wants the war permanently ended with guarantees. Trump says the proposal is not good enough. Iran says a temporary ceasefire is a trap, and the clock is ticking toward 8 p.m. Tuesday. In this video, you are going to understand exactly what Trump threatened, exactly what Iran proposed, exactly what is happening behind the scenes diplomatically, and exactly what happens to the world if no deal is reached tonight. Now you might think, Trump has set deadlines before. He extended the last one. He extended the one before that. Maybe this is just more pressure tactics and nothing actually happens. That thinking may be dangerously wrong this time, because something is different about today. The military is ready, the plan is written, the targets are selected, and the people closest to this situation are saying this deadline feels different from all the others. Let me take you through everything that happened in the last 48 hours, because the speed of this escalation is unlike anything we have seen since this war began. Let's start with exactly what Trump said, because the language he used was unlike anything a sitting American president has publicly stated about another country in modern history. Trump ordered Iran in a profanity-laced Truth Social post to open the strait, threatening a major bombing campaign on Tuesday. He then appeared to set a new deadline for Iran to reopen the vital waterway for Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. CNN, but it didn't stop there. Trump warned that the U.S. military is prepared to destroy bridges and power plants across Iran if the strait remains closed past his deadline. He said such strikes could render key infrastructure unusable for 100 years. Newsweek. 100 years, not damaged, not disrupted, unusable for a century. That is not the language of someone looking for a diplomatic exit. That is the language of someone who has decided what happens if the answer is no. Trump said Iran appears to be negotiating in good faith, and any deal with Iran would need to ensure the free traffic of oil. CBS News. He added there is a good chance of a deal, but paired that immediately with a promise to blow up everything if no deal materializes. Trump described the rescue of a missing American airman as a massive operation involving 155 aircraft and extensive deception to mislead Iranian forces. He said the downed F-15E was hit by a single shoulder-fired missile. Newsweek. The message Trump delivered on Monday was calculated and deliberate. Praise the military. Show American power works. Then pivot to the threat. Open the strait or watch your country's infrastructure disappear for a generation. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said U.S. forces are carrying out more strikes on Iran than any day since the start of the war. NBC News. The military escalation is not paused for diplomacy. It is running simultaneously. Bombs falling and negotiators talking at the same exact moment. Now let's look at what Iran actually said, because the Western media is not telling this part of the story clearly enough. Iran's response, described as the product of 2 weeks of reviews at the highest levels of the Iranian establishment, rules out a ceasefire while laying out a set of conditions including a permanent end to hostilities across the region, a safe passage protocol for the Strait of Hormuz, reconstruction commitments, and the lifting of sanctions. RFE-RL, read that carefully. Iran is not saying never. Iran is not saying we will fight forever. Iran is saying, we will open the strait, we will stop fighting, but only if America guarantees it will never happen again. Only if sanctions are lifted. Only if Iran gets reconstruction support for the damage done to its cities and infrastructure. Iran's foreign minister said we won't merely accept a ceasefire. We only accept an end of the war with guarantees that we won't be attacked again. Al Jazeera. That is a fundamentally different position from what the American media is portraying as Iranian stubbornness. Iran is not refusing peace. Iran is refusing a temporary pause that it believes will be used to prepare for round two. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson rejected the idea of a temporary ceasefire, saying it would allow the US and Israel to pause and prepare for the continuation of the war. CNN. From Iran's perspective, that analysis is completely rational. A temporary ceasefire with no guarantees means America rearms, repositions, and comes back stronger. Iran's demand for a permanent end with guarantees is not obstruction, it is strategy. Iran's Central Military Command warned on Monday of much more devastating retaliation if its adversaries hit civilian targets. If attacks on civilian targets are repeated, the next stages of offensive and retaliatory operations will be much more devastating and widespread. CBS News. Both sides are escalating their language simultaneously while supposedly negotiating. That combination, maximum military threat paired with diplomatic engagement, is one of the most dangerous moments in modern geopolitical history. Behind the public threats and counter-threats, something significant is actually happening diplomatically. And this is the part that gives the situation its only real hope. A diplomatic effort is underway to avoid a major escalation in the Iran war, with President Trump considering, among other ideas, a Pakistani proposal for a 45-day ceasefire to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. CBS News, Pakistan. A country that shares a long border with Iran, a country with deep Muslim world credibility, a country whose army chief has apparently been working the phones through the night, trying to prevent a catastrophic escalation. Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir was in contact through the night with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Talks have also been conducted through direct text messages between Witkoff and Araghchi. RFE-RL direct text messages between the American Special Envoy and the Iranian Foreign Minister. That is not nothing. That is a real channel with real people on both ends trying to find a number that works. Egyptian officials involved in these efforts tell NPR Iran is open to a 45-day ceasefire that guarantees a permanent end to the war, during which Iran would discuss opening the Strait of Hormuz. NPR. So here is the actual shape of the potential deal emerging. 45 days, ceasefire, strait opens. Both sides negotiate a permanent settlement including Iran's nuclear program and sanctions relief. That framework exists. The question is whether Trump accepts it before 8 p.m. Tuesday. The White House confirmed that the ceasefire proposal was under consideration, but Trump had not signed off on it, and the war was continuing. Operation Epic Fury continues. Al Jazeera, Operation Epic Fury. That is the name of the American military campaign, and it continues even while the diplomacy runs in parallel. This is the most dangerous diplomatic environment in decades. Military escalation and peace negotiations happening simultaneously with a hard deadline attached. Let's be completely clear about what Trump is threatening to destroy, because if this deadline passes without a deal, the world needs to understand what comes next. Trump warned that the U.S. military is prepared to destroy bridges and power plants across Iran if the strait remains closed past his deadline. He said such strikes could render key infrastructure unusable for 100 years. Newsweek power plants. Iran has over 40 power generation facilities across the country. Destroying them does not hurt the Iranian military in any immediate tactical sense. It cuts electricity to hospitals. It shuts down water treatment plants. It kills refrigeration for food and medicine. It plunges civilian populations into darkness. The Red Cross said threats against civilian infrastructure cannot become the new norm in warfare. Deliberate threats, whether in rhetoric or in action, against essential civilian infrastructure and nuclear facilities must not become the new norm in warfare. CNN. The International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi warned that strikes near Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant could cause a severe radiological accident with harmful consequences for people and the environment in Iran and beyond. The IAEA said that there were strikes near the operating plant, including one about 250 feet away, according to their analysis of new satellite imagery. NBC News, 250 feet. That is how close existing strikes have already come to a functioning nuclear power station. The IAEA is not issuing theoretical warnings. It is warning about something that nearly happened already and could happen again with far more deliberate intent if Trump's deadline passes. Legal experts told CNN that attacks on civilian infrastructure such as power facilities would likely constitute a war crime. CNN Trump was asked directly about this concern and said he hoped he would not have to do it while simultaneously refusing to rule it out. While diplomats talk and generals plan, the economic damage is already happening, and it is accelerating. The price of U.S. crude oil jumped from $112 to about $114 per barrel when Trump began speaking, although it eased a bit after the event. NBC News oil markets are now moving on every Trump statement. Every word he says about Iran is being priced into global energy costs within minutes. Rising energy, shipping, and fertilizer costs, fueled by Tehran's stranglehold on the strait, are already being felt in the U.S. and around the world, with sharper consequences expected to fall on poorer, import-dependent countries. NBC News. Global fuel prices are unlikely to fall even if the United States and Iran agree to a ceasefire, a leading energy analyst said Monday, underscoring how deeply the closure of the Strait of Hormuz has destabilized oil markets. It would take several months to repair oil refineries and other energy infrastructure in the Persian Gulf that have been damaged in the conflict. Shipping companies that operate oil tankers in the region would also take at least 2 months to resume operations if the war is suspended. Newsweek. Read that again. Even if a deal is signed tonight, even if the strait opens tomorrow morning, even if every gun goes silent, the oil price shock continues for months. The damage already done to refinery infrastructure means global energy markets cannot normalize quickly, regardless of what happens at 8 p.m. Tuesday. An Iranian drone strike on Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait overnight injured 15 Americans, 2 U.S. officials said. As of Monday, 373 American service members have been injured in the Iran operation, according to a U.S. Central Command spokesperson. CBS News, 373 American military personnel injured. That number is not being prominently reported in the headlines, but it represents the real human cost already paid before a single power plant has been struck under Trump's latest threat. Overnight airstrikes hit Sharif University of Technology in Tehran, prompting widespread anger among Iranians. Newsweek. One of the most prestigious universities in the Middle East, the institution that produced generations of Iran's engineers, scientists, and academics, struck in the night. So here is where everything stands as the clock moves toward Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Trump has promised complete demolition of Iranian power plants and bridges if the strait is not open by tonight. He says the deadline is final. He says there is a good chance of a deal. He says the proposal is significant but not enough. He says the military is ready. Iran has submitted a 10-point proposal demanding a permanent end to the war with guarantees, sanctions relief, and reconstruction support. It has rejected a temporary ceasefire as a trap. It has threatened more devastating retaliation if civilian infrastructure is struck. And it is simultaneously texting the American envoy through the night. Pakistan is mediating. Egypt is involved. Qatar is calling everyone. The European Council is urging restraint. The Red Cross is warning about norms of warfare. The IAEA is warning about nuclear accidents. And oil is sitting at $114 per barrel, with $200 still a real projection if this escalates further. What happens tonight changes everything. A deal means the world gets to exhale, at least temporarily. No deal means the most intensive bombing of a country's civilian infrastructure in modern history begins within hours of this deadline passing. The next few hours are unlike any the world has seen in a very long time. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Trump will actually strike the power plants if no deal is reached? Or will there be another extension? Drop your honest prediction in the comments right now. If this video gave you something the news is not properly explaining, hit subscribe immediately, because we are going to be covering every development as it happens. The next video goes live the moment something breaks tonight. Stay sharp, stay informed, and we will see you in the next video.